Hello, I wanted to create a little review on a game that I really appreciated on the PlayStation Vita platform that I played. That game would be called Uncharted Golden Abyss, but you already knew that when you read the title. So let's just go ahead and get into it. I'm going to go into the development history. Um, Obviously, this is an older game. I'm definitely not new. I'm pretty slow when it comes to gaming in general. I like playing old games that came out a long time ago because there's just too much stuff on my backlog of games to play. Um, Anyways, this was released in February 2012, so about 5 years late. At least in North America, it was, and it was actually released in Japan earlier, if I remember right. This was actually created by Bend Studio, which, if you're like me, you really like, and you think of this place when you hear Bend Studio, and that is Bend, Oregon. Bend, Oregon is home for a lot of craft beer and craft brews, delicious food. So when I found out that Bend Studio was actually founded in Bend in 1993 by Mark Blank and Michael Barrelin, um, who are best known, well, I guess, Bend Studios in general is best known for Siphon Filter. I'm not sure how that franchise turned out, but I remember the first one being really fun. They also created the very hated Bubsy 3D, which I played, but I don't remember having any really thoughts on it. Um, they created Siphon Filter as a rival for GoldenEye 007 back in the day. GoldenEye 007 was the best FPS you could play. Everybody was playing it. And then they also created Resistance Retribution. I can't really speak any part for the Resistance games. I just find them to be like cookie cutter Resistance or first person shooter games that aren't real. They don't stand out in any way to me. This was developed by inside of their own Bengen, which is the engine they use for development of their games. I'm assuming all their games, like Siphon Filter, are all developed inside of Bengen. It's kind of a fun word. It's a merger between Bend and Engine, so yeah. I like how it just kind of puts Bend in the eyes of people that game, because Bend is a very, very nice place. It's like Portland, but not like Portland. It doesn't carry all the bad Portland traits. There's no quirky, weird hipsters. Well, there are, but not as many. But a fun fact about the game is it doesn't run at the native resolution 960 by 544 on the Vita. It runs at 720 by 408, which actually is very obvious when you see any sort of explosion or anything involving fire. It's really pixelated and it looks PlayStation 1-y. Anyway, as far as the story goes, you play as Nathan Drake before the events of Uncharted Drake's Fortune alongside Marissa Chase, and you explore a temple complex in Panama. There's a rival explorer who was your friend. His name is Jason Dante, and during the game, there's a mercenary leader whose name was Guerrero, and he leads a mercenary army who are occupying the space where this temple is. Dante was hired by Vincent Perez, who hires Drake to conduct further research on a found amulet. They learn of Sete Ciudades, an ancient Christian sect dedicated to finding 7 cities of gold. It's kind of fascinating how much actual history is kind of involved with the story here. But I'll talk a little bit more about that when I want to talk about atmosphere. As far as gameplay, it's really fun. It's an action adventure, which is it's my second favorite genre. I really like JRPGs and action RPGs. Man, it's really hard. I'm gonna say action adventure is definitely up in my top 3 for genres. There's fun stealth kill opportunities, so you can sneak around like Metal Gear and kill people, but it's not as elaborate as Metal Gear. There's lots of run and gun. Or you can pick up guns like shotguns, pistols, rockets, snipers, heavy machine guns, and use them all on the enemies. The game does give you like an appropriate gun for a situation. So if you have to snipe somebody, there'll be a sniper nearby. So just when you're playing it, just keep in mind that if you find a sniper in a particular location, you should probably pick that up, because there's going to be some guys across the cliffs that you won't be able to hit with a pistol very easily. As far as atmosphere, this is actually based off an actual mythical Seven Cities of Gold. The place was named after Francisco Vasquez de Coronado in 1541. This place was actually never found. Instead, farms were found. Farms, agriculture, and a really small village. Um, so the guy who led Francisco Vasquez de Coronado, his name was El Tarco. Um, they were searching for a place called Quivira, which is supposed to have a large population with gold and silver. So El Turco comes up to Francisco Vasquez de Coronado and he's like, "Hey, you want lots of gold, silver, money, a large population city? I can lead you there." And then at the end of it, there's just nothing. It's really kind of sad. And Turco actually admitted to the expedition that he was just luring the Spaniards away from Pueblos, which is kind of interesting. And it's just that the environment of the game is you got this amazing Panama rainforest environment where there's waterfalls, birds, stone temples, just all this cool stuff to really actually feel like you're in an adventure game. And once you actually find the lost city of Quivira and all the whole Golden Abyss, it's the environment gets even better because you get into this sealed cave that hasn't been touched for hundreds of years, with all this awesome gold, and you find out some twists and stuff about it and how they got it and stuff like that. It's very fun to watch. The canoe ride, though, it was what did it for me. That was my favorite part of the game because you're really feeling like you're getting to this climactic part of the game, and the environment is just it looks really good, and it does a good job of just making you feel like you're really in this temple. Because I know it was like I was not in my car just playing Vita anymore. I was actually exploring this awesome temple with inside of a canoe with Nathan Drake. That's how immersed I was in the atmosphere, and they did a really good job with it. But anyways, overall, I want to get into controls. The controls, bad controls. They're all really bad, except for maybe shoot. That was the good control. Whatever they did. I'm pretty sure it was just R shoulder and then L to aim, which is standard now. But there's pointless tacked on motion controls. So like whenever you walk across a log in an area where you might fall, there's like a mandatory balance check where you have like this meter and you have to tilt the PS Vita in order to keep the meter centered. I thought that was really tacked on, and I anticipated it every time I had to do that. I was like, oh, here's my balance check, so I got to tilt my Vita. And then the QuickTime events were used with the touchscreen for the most part. I don't think there was a single button QuickTime event, which, in my opinion, it made for a pretty poor experience when you're enjoying the cutscenes. Mostly because I would miss the QuickTime events if I'm holding it horizontally, so I developed the behavior to hold my Vita in portrait mode and then use my index finger, and then I'm pretty much, when I do that, I'm watching the cutscenes at a rotated 90-degree angle, and it's not very enjoyable when I do that. I like to kind of just watch a cutscene like I watch a movie, sit back. Maybe I'm not trying to like. I don't think QuickTime is bad. Overall, I know a lot of people aren't really into QuickTime, but I think this implementation of it wasn't a good one. Just do what Resident Evil 4 did and use like square, X, circle, and analog and stuff like that. And for boat rowing and stuff, you use the rear touchpad, which is very annoying. You had to like slide your finger from top to bottom to go forward and then the opposite to go backward. It was really difficult to aim. It actually almost felt laggy, even though it was single player and I wasn't even online. I don't know why it was so bad. It just maybe I'm just really bad with analogs, but it almost felt delayed when I would move my crosshair over to a guy, and then it would still not be there. So I would like over aim, and then it would be too far over, and then I'd have to correct it almost every single time. And then when I went to try to increase aim sensitivity, thinking that would help, increasing aim sensitivity almost did nothing for the game. It was really strange. I wish they made just aim sensitivity a lot better. And I know some of you guys who play Call of Duty aren't going to like the slow aim sensitivity and the lack of response. Um, I would highly recommend hand grips when you're playing on the Vita, just because my hands cramped up, and my hands are actually pretty small. So if you're gonna play and you have big hands and you're gonna play for more than 2 hours, you're probably gonna cramp up and want hand grips. I still don't have them, but you know, I'd recommend them if you got the money for them. Overall, my conclusion on this game, I'd probably give it an 8.5 out of 10. It's an amazing atmosphere, loosely based off an actual legendary city and an actual legendary expedition involving Vasquez de Coronado. Um, I love when these games mix history with a little bit of fiction. It makes it way more fun. Metal Gear Solid did the same exact thing, and it was really fun. They mentioned some events from the NSA. Like a lot of people talk about Edward Snowden as the recent NSA leaker, but this has actually happened before. And then I learned about it after Snowden, just when I was playing Metal Gear Solid 3. They mentioned the NSA leakers that happened. Man, well, I think that was in the 90s. I think it was Biggs Benny or something like that. I don't. Yeah, I read it too long ago. I kind of wish I kept it fresher in my mind. But anyways, some of you guys can look into it if you want to, or you find that interesting. The QuickTime events overall, I think were positive, but I think they just had a bad implementation of it. And I really like the Prince of Persia climbing. That's been since Prince of Persia: Sands of Time, and then I really liked Warrior Within. I loved how it became just like a mature, bloody game right after that. Those are always super fun to me. And then I'm knocking points off for the poor controls and aiming and stuff like that, just because it's too poor. They really should have worked harder on the controls, but you know, you don't really you can't always get something perfect the first time, so you got to refine it and improve. Maybe they haven't heard people talk about how their controls are really bad, and maybe they'll hear this and they'll go back and redo it. No, they won't. But maybe the next game won't be so bad. Anyways, thanks if you listen to this whole thing. I think I'll probably have about 5 or 10 views on this video. I'm gonna keep making videos anyway. I like doing these. See you later. I'm going to continue doing handheld reviews. I also talked about my Switch in another video. And just, yeah, if you like my content, subscribe. And have a wonderful day. Goodbye.